you do it. Welcome back to Andertons TV, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. My special guest today, if you haven't already worked it out, is Kiko Loureiro, all the way from, not Brazil today, all the way from Finland.
Yes, exactly. From Finland, and yes.
I must admit, I've not met Kiko before. I feel like I've met a sort of a kindred spirit. We are very similarly aged. As you can probably tell, Kiko is the younger of the two of us.
You're older than me, right? Yeah. Thanks for having me here. I'm a big fan of your channel and all your work.
I should say, thank you so much to Ricardo. You know who you are for hooking us up. I was saying to Kiko, it's been a while since we did a masterclass and all that kind of stuff. So I've just got to kind of ease myself back into this a little bit. But we're going to talk about your life growing up, guitar influences, people that aren't familiar with you, I guess, currently Megadeth's guitar player, have been for the last 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
Yeah, wow. And before that, in a crazy kind of guitar virtuoso band called ANGRA. You've had a solo career as well.
Yeah.
And they're obviously all guitar-centric bands, but quite an eclectic, not eclectic, that's the wrong word, but there's a different vibe whether you're doing your own stuff, ANGRA or Megadeth.
Yeah.
But I want to go back. So you're born in Brazil, beautiful country of stunning people and architecture and nature and all that kind of stuff, and
music.
And I was about to say, and a real fantastic heritage in music from all genres. But growing up, in the 70s and 80s. Tell us about, a little bit about what where those inspirations have come from, and
Well, yeah. So I was born in Rio, grew up in São Paulo. So my parents, they're from Rio, from a great generation of listening to the. I use the term bossa nova because I think it's like everybody knows, kind of the term, the style of bossa nova, but it's more than that. The Brazilian music. In general, so the great artists from the late 60s, 70s, so my parents were into that. So then at my home, I didn't have any musicians at home, right? So at some point, my sister decided to learn some acoustic guitar, and we were like, she was 12, I was 11, and then she took some lessons. The teacher used to come to our place, and then one day she kind of decided not to do it, and my mother said, but I paid the lesson. Hey Kiko, do you want to start taking lessons? And I said, yeah, why not? And then I started taking acoustic guitar lessons, classical, the first chords, G major, A major, those chords. I was 11 years old. We had a classical guitar that was just there for my family, and so everything started there. So then I liked. My sister gave up, and I continued with this teacher, Pedro, his name, and then for maybe 2 or 3 years. But then I started to, I was going to the library at my school and discovering bands.
Right.
Zeppelin, Deep Purple, older bands, like albums from the 70s.
Yeah.
Just because it was easier to, I don't know, because they look cool. I don't know, because I didn't have friends listening to that kind of music. I don't know why I started digging those bands. So Zeppelin was Led Zeppelin 3, I remember, because then I recorded in a cassette tape. And then I was listening all the time, Led Zeppelin 3 and then 4. And then, of course, Queen and other bands like that, but they were popular. Queen or The Police or bands like that were more pop-oriented. And then I got into Deep Purple and, I don't know, bands from the Black Sabbath, Nazareth, or I was just discovering stuff from the albums from the library. And then I got into Maiden and the more, I remember I think my first album that I bought with my parents' money, not my own money, but was Power Slave.
Right.
Yeah. So this is what, 84, 85? I don't know, something maybe, like that, right? So then of course, then Rocking Rio in 85.
That we talked about that at lunch, and again, these seminal moments in your teenage years where you just something And I think everyone will relate to that. They'll have their moment of something. But I mean, you can still see Rock in Rio clips on documentaries, you know, almost
totally.
every night.
Or the Queen movie, you can see the Love of My Life song.
So how did you, because you were, what, slightly too young probably to go to that, but so you watch it on TV?
So 1 year before we had Kiss. So Kiss went to Brazil, Creatures of the Night, right, that album. So it was already like a big thing, right? So I was listening to Kiss as well. But 85, Rock in Rio, we had Yes, Queen, Maiden, AC/DC, Scorpions, Ozzy, George Benson, B-52s, or James Taylor. So all in all, one festival, and the Brazilian acts as well, in one big festival, which was a crazy idea of one guy, Medina, his name, that brought all the PA, everything, lights, PA, cables, everything from the US, because we didn't have, I think back then, proper equipment for such a big festival of 100,000 people. So I was seeing those clips of those concerts, then the magazines, and then the big news TV channel showing the artists in the swimming pool, whatever, doing rock star stuff, you know. So I was mesmerized by all that, and of course, John Sykes from Whitesnake, the guys from Maiden, you know, Adrian Smith, Dave Murray, you know, Brian May, Ant Young, and the Scorpions guys, you know, like, man, like this, that was my start. And then, so my classical guitar teacher told my mother, like, well, you might, you know, buy a guitar.
Yeah.
Actually, the story was a bit more like, I remember, like, I was doing a test to get into a school, and I had to write a composition, and then the composition was like a free composition. You could write about anything, and I wrote about the now is the Download Festival, right? I wrote about this guy eating eating a bat, and then the whole thing, the loud guitars and the mud, and then they didn't let me into that school. And then the principal called my mother. She was like, "Oh, your kid has a problem. You know, you need to take him to a psychiatrist or something." And my mom bought me a guitar.
There you are, parents.
Yeah.
Don't waste your money on psychiatrists. Just buy your children guitars.
So yeah, basically, you know, we went to a store, and then there was this black SG. It was a Gibson copy. It was a Giannini, the name of the brand. It's a Brazilian brand, and that they used to make classical guitars, but they were like doing some electric guitars as well back then. They still do it. So I got my first guitar. Then I went to my guitar teacher finally, you know, like in a local school, and then I started learning the riffs, the licks, the modes.
Were you obsessed? Because, you know, wake up in the morning, just play. And
yeah, when I was 14, I think so, in a way, not a lot, but 16, 17, yes. Then I was playing all the time.
Did you go to a music college of some sort, or was it all just straight into bands and learning?
Always with private teachers. So I had a great teacher, Mozart Mello, that I had for a few years, and then I tried to get into the music university. I was not sure about being a musician. You know, all the very common fear of everybody that likes art in general. I was not sure. It's like, can I make a living out of this? You know, when you're 16, 17, the fear of like, oh, I don't know about this because I don't want to be that guy playing in the bar for 5 people. It's like, you know, because you see like you see like the guy playing a bar for a few people, and then you see the big act. You don't understand. There's like a huge industry, right? Like music stores or like all sorts of bands or writing songs or producers, like the whole music industry. So you don't know that. So it's like you're afraid of being a musician. So I started doing biology university.
Oh wow!
So I got into the federal, the great university in São Paulo for biology, and the state university for music. And funny enough, I gave up the music. Right, like in the fourth, fifth month, I was like, oh, this is too boring. It was like, I don't know, like classical stuff, theory, like the violin strings are made of this, and that's like too much reading. I was into playing, but I kept doing the biology because it was my safe bet for almost 2 years, and I just gave up. I mean, I might still come back.
Yeah, you've always got that to fall back on.
I might still come back if they accept me. Wow, man, this is like 91. I gave up when I went with ANGRA to record our first album. And then we went to Germany to Hamburg, to record our first album. So for a kid, I was 20 years old. For a kid, I was already winning just to have the money to go to Germany to record an album.
This happened fast then, right? Because you look at a lot of bands, and I suppose there'd always be that maybe 2 or 3 years of doing all the little gigs and hoping that you get discovered and getting better and writing better material. So how long was ANGRA together before you were signed and making albums?
Yeah, the thing was like ANGRA had a singer that was well known from a previous band, right. Viper, André. And then all the guys, and I played with Rafael, the other guitar player from ANGRA. So I played with him in a previous band when we were 17, 2 years before that. So we kind of knew each other, and we had this focus, like, we're gonna start a band and we're gonna be serious about this. We're not gonna play in clubs, just create music and try to figure out a way to go straight to the not to the top, but to get signed, or to record a proper demo to show to the right people. Because of André, the singer, he had some connections already, so we could focus all the energy, and we were like rehearsing every day for 4 or 5 hours, And I remember, like in the summertime, instead of going to like enjoy the Ipanema beach or something like that, we were there like practicing and writing songs and focusing on recording that demo that we had one chance to show to that German connection that we had, and then to the JVC record label in Japan.
Because that style of music, so you're talking that sort of evolution, I suppose, of previous heavier prog guitar-driven bands mixed in maybe with the classical kind of vibe. Who was pioneering that for you, or do you almost feel that ANGRA were sort of one of the pioneers of that genre? Because I guess the minute you say neoclassical, Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah, I think Malmsteen, like the power metal vibe. You had Halloween as a reference. We had Queensryche as a big influence. Like, we wanted to sound like Queensryche, and we have Queen because of the the nature of the harmony, operatic, the compositions, pop but very deep, right? And then we had like this thing that we want to mix some Brazilian stuff as well, but we were not clear about that on the first album. The second album, we have much more Brazilian stuff. I think Maiden, like all the new wave of British heavy metal in a way, like two guitars, a singer, but also having a lot of orchestrations and keyboards and even piano intros, like more like Queen. Taking from Queen, the conceptual thing from Queensryche, this hard rock kind of from Queensryche things. So it was a combination of that. We went to Germany to record the album, and then it got a bit more Germanized, the sound of the band, because of a great producer, Charlie Bauerfeind, and the whole environment. So we got a bit more Halloweenish in a way, but our nature was more like everything. We liked a common thing inside the band was we liked everything. We respect all kinds of music. The Rafael and André, so the other guitar player and the singer, they were studying at the university, music university. So they were bringing all this, whatever counterpoint things. I was at that time I was taking lessons with private lessons with the university teachers. So I gave up the university because it was taking too much of my time. So I asked them, like, what's the best teacher there? And then I went to have private lessons with that teacher to get into the counterpoint and understand classical music a bit better.
I was going to say, maybe we could have a tiny bit of playing on that, because it's that classical, you know, for me, when you look at so many guitar solos, they're steeped in almost traditional guitar scales, you know, pentatonic scales and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as you hear a guitar player go down that sort of neoclassical route, everything is alien in terms of, you know, it's not traditional blues style, just you know, but where
so it's not pentatonic.
Yeah, well, it's not even the sense of, you know, play, pause, wait, see, find your spot. It's you know, it's like a tidal wave of just kind of, you know.
Oh, the neoclassical, you mean, like the scales and stuff?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, you know, just how do you approach that?
But it always starts with with nice harmony, you know? It's like... You start here.
Yeah.
Just start. Once you understand those sounds and you kind of, I need those sounds. It's not only.
But that's what I mean. You're not going for like a 1-4-5, are you? It's a very different.
The 1-4-5 is like kind of like a basic thing in music, right? Earthy, because of the harmonic series. So you have it's there, so it's embedded in everything you play. It's gonna always sound like 4-1-5-1, right? If you play this, and then you start adding like the relatives, or like a dominant and resolve, and then dominant, and so it sounds very classical because you're always like in the relations of fifths, so the 1-4-5,
right?
Which is the blues is only 1-4-5. It doesn't get out of there, you know. Unless you start going to the jazz, and then you add some substitutions like 2-5-1s and stuff like that, or like they call it secondary dominants, like a dominant to a dominant to a dominant, and it keeps doing things. Those kind of right. So once you understand that, you have the feeling that you need to go to other places, and then it's just, you can use scales, you can play arpeggios, it can be a singing melody, right?
So is that, what are you, you know, when you're playing some of the lead lines, and I suppose, you know, I could listen to that all day, it's beautiful stuff, but I think when people think of bands like ANGRA and Dragon Force, and, you know, we talked about, you know, Gus G, and you know, I think they're waiting for the big, crazy, you know, legato lead line. You know, where are you? I mean, which, you know, you were warming up, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of that as well. It's just lunatic kind of technique. But what are you hearing? You know, what's...
I hear the harmony. It's like if you say like A minor, and then you're like, okay, that's a dominant for the A minor, then. Okay, you play this, right? Let's say, I don't know, something like that. Then you can play like, right? So this is A minor.
It's all over the chords, isn't it? Everything's,
E. Now it's like a dominant. Then resolve, D minor. The E. And then you can play scale during that E dominant. You can play a scale. That's what kind of Malmsteen does. A lot of, you know, always when it comes to dominant, it's like just a fast scale. So but the way I'm hearing the harmony, I always like, okay, what's happening underneath the solo, because it dictates everything, you know. So if you play So it's like, that's what I'm hearing. D minor, B flat here, dominant, and then resolves. I can play this with a scale, I can play a melody.
You need to know your substitutions like second nature, don't you? There, it's like you just again, I'm impressing myself with how good a job I'm doing of bluffing my way through this interview, pretending I actually know what's going on here. But it's like I'm looking at that, just going, you make it look effortless.
Okay, so let's try to get like a very simple thing for you guys, for everybody here. So the basic thing in music, in harmony, would be a resolution, like the home tonic, like the C major song would be a C major, and then the opposite would be the dominant, like a preparation to come back home, like the basic thing. So it would be so get that and play this in every key, and start improvising, or just the chords at first. So if you play G, C, tell me another note. D. So.
Oh, you're just going to go from the...
Then I always, if you play, say, D major, I play the dominant, the fifth. So you just count D, E, F, G, A. Number 5, you guys know how to count to 5. So just play A major, and then resolve, and D. Another one.
B flat.
B flat, and then it's like, go here. Okay, so we have... Right? So the B flat was a different one, but why not? Then the B flat, sorry, I played the E flat. So, now it's like B flat. And then I can go back to, so we can try to write a melody here. Can continue the same thing. I can play like any, like F sharp, B, G, C, D. So I'm just doing 5-1, 5-1 all the time. 5. So 5-1. You see, and then you start going any place. It's like this sound works, like 5-1 works. All right, since Johann Sebastian Bach, right? So Johann Sebastian Bach, he was going from 5, he was doing 5-1 to the tonic, and 5-1 to the fourth, 5-1 to the fifth, and 5-1 to the relative. Was kind of there. That's very always in the fifth relation. And then, but music evolved, and our perception evolved, and now we can go anywhere. You can just play 5-1 to any place. That would be the first exercise to expand your horizons in harmony, and then if you're able to play with arpeggios, and here we go. You have a lot of places to do.
It's as easy as that, everybody. I mean, it's just...
I mean, you have 12. It's 12. Like, I mean, do this like once a week. Choose one key and then do it for a week. You know.
I've heard that, but you know, you are kind of right. On the one hand, there's not a lot of notes to choose from on a guitar, so how complicated can it be? But on the other hand,
it is complicated.
It's like it is. Yeah,
you have to start from a place. So the 5-1 would be a place to start. So that's the blues. It's like what happens there? You go to the fourth, right? And 5-1 is always this. It's a 4-5-1. Because that's the basic cadence, you know, the complete cadence, that's the name, so 4-5-1. The blues is nothing more than a very earthy thing that comes in every culture. You know, the difference here of the blues, then you have this, to get that bluesy sound, like this, not being sure about the major third or the minor third. Right? Right? Once you understand that, it's always 4-5-1, and then every major chord can be a minor going to the major, then you have the blues.
See, it's interesting about...
In a way, I'm kind of simplifying a lot.
But you're where I think people will be able to relate to that. So people like me, I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily able to process some of the things that you're saying, but as soon as you start to play it,
okay,
then I go, oh yeah, you know,
yeah.
I do that, you know, in the sense of maybe I don't know why, but I like the sound of it, so that's why I would do it.
You know why? That's a why. I don't know if the conversation is going there, but it's because of it's like physics. So the way we perceive sound. Yeah. The way you perceive sound when you play, if it's a good guitar like this one here, so the half of the string is you know, we have the overtone here.
Yeah.
Overtone, right? So this is the fifth, right? Mm-hmm. So you have the octave, then you have a fifth, then have another octave, then you have the third.
So they're all just harmonics of the natural note.
That's the fifth. So so when you play a note, when you play an E note, you have an E major chord inside that note.
Yes. All the harmonics are making up the note, even though it's a single root.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we perceive as an E major. Mm-hmm. Once you play a minor third, you're disrupting that natural thing, so that we have this feeling that it's sad. Oh, the minor sad, because it's
disrupting the natural harmonic of the note.
But
you know, it's interesting. We've had this conversation. We were having this conversation with Paul Reed Smith recently about what is it that makes a note make you feel happy or make you feel sad. At the end of the day, it's just two different notes. But you're right. I think it is. So it's disrupting the natural harmony of.
That's it's not my point of view, because this is like. But always when you're disrupting.
That biology degree was worth doing, wasn't it?
You see. Yeah, it's like. It's like. Yeah. Look, it's like gravity, you know, like
wow.
It's there. It's there. Now. It's there, right? So once you play this note, it's like it's an E major. If you play this, it's create this feeling that's like it's minor. That's why the blues
tension.
Because remember, the blues is like you have all that African legacy, right? So it's a world music, right? It just because it's there from the United States. We play guitar. We think that blues is a mandatory thing or something like that, but it's just like a ethnic music.
Yeah,
you should see as an ethnic music. If you get the flamenco, they would be just disrupting that 1/5, because the 1/5. Why the 1/5? Because that's the first harmonic here, right? The five.
Yeah.
Right. So once you get one note that has inside this note a fifth, right? This you got it.
Go on.
Okay. The E has a B inside.
Yeah.
That's why a power chord works.
Yeah.
Because you're just reinforcing the tonic. You're reinforcing the main note. So when you play like, you're reinforcing that same note.
Yeah.
Right? And then you might think, okay, so if I play the fifth, it means that fifth has another fifth.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you play E, the E has a fifth. You play the fifth, which is B.
Yeah.
So this B has a fifth inside the B.
Yeah.
Which is?
Oh, you're kidding me, aren't you?
F sharp.
F sharp.
F sharp. You don't need to know, but just the concept of, okay, so the F sharp now has a fifth as well.
Yes.
So keep going.
Forever and ever and ever.
No.
Oh, until you get round to the E again.
Yeah.
And then.
And how many?
I don't know. How many?
12.
12, right.
And then you can organize this way.
Did you get that, everybody? Is this how you got the Megadeth gig? Did you just sit and explain all this, did you, to Dave Mustaine? And he said, "You're the man!"
No, because that would be like that's why we play that's the way the instrument. That's why you're talking. That's your Paul Reed Smith, because that's the way that's why you have this little dots here.
Yeah.
Is indicating the fifth, indicating the fourth, which is the contrary of the fifth. Right. So that's why you have here 2 dots here, indicating that that's the half of the instrument, of the half of the string. So once you get a fifth and a fifth and a fifth and a fifth 12 times, then you have the circle fifths. You probably saw this in a book.
I've seen the circle fifths, yes.
Somewhere. And then every time
it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. So every time you choose the note that is close in the circle fifth, you're very close because they're in the fifth relation. If you choose the opposite, then it might sound, it sounds far away. It sounds weird, like this.
Yeah.
And then you have Black Sabbath. So if you choose a faraway note, you're choosing to be not earthly, not obeying the laws of physics, I would say, you know. Yeah. So dissonant. So that's why if you do this, tonic and fifth, but then I can disrupt this with that, or
oh yeah, I don't like that one.
Right? So I can, but you feel like it needs to come back.
Resolve back.
Yeah. So that's a basic music theory. It's 5 minutes.
No, honestly, it's fascinating. And again, to be honest with you, it's sort of, every time I meet a really, really great guitar player, you have to remember that behind incredible technique and thousands of hours of dedication and practice, there is normally a really great understanding as well of the sort of the musicality behind it all. And
No, I like that, and I did teach as well, so I have to figure out. I do have my guitar academy.
Okay.
So I teach the modes in this perspective, because the modes comes from there, you know. So the modes, harmony, and of course how to practice, you know.
I might check that out.
Yeah.
I feel like Pete and I need to go on this journey at some point, don't we? And just Anyway, look. So we talked. So ANGRA ran for what, nearly 15 years?
I forgot, coming back to that. 91. Okay.
But was it nearly 15 years ANGRA ran for, or?
No, they're still around.
Oh, okay. So
So we did the first album was released in '93. So we finally recorded in Germany, and then was released in Japan only. So JVC kind of gave us an advance to have a proper recording, and then we were a gold disc in Japan.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. And those kids from Brazil being gold disc in Japan. So this gave us a momentum to start creating the second album called Holy Land. And then it has more Brazilian influences. And then we kept going. Kept going for forever. So until, good and bad times throughout the years for many years, until 2015, I was already in the United States, and then I got the call
so 20 years in ANGRA, doing the ANGRA.
It was like my main thing. I did my first solo album, No Gravity, in 2004. It kind of took me like 10 years to have the courage.
And what was that just that you had, because I listened to a little bit of ANGRA and then quite a lot of your solo stuff over the last week or two, and it's clearly a different vibe. Seem to be on your solo stuff more focus on melody and perhaps less classical, as opposed to ANGRA, which had become, which is, as you said, it's like a bit of a tidal wave of kind of power coming at you. So was that just you feeling like, I just have some other things inside me I want to try and get down and release, and just
exactly. Yeah, I think as a solo artist, solo artist is like to show people your other side, and I always listen a lot to guitar music, all the heroes from the 80s, because I was saying about those metal bands, but right after, when I start practicing guitar, then I start getting deep into the guitar players from the late 80s.
So who would they have been? Nuno?
Nuno, for sure. Paul Gilbert, Satriani, Vai, that generation, Greg Howe, man, I can...
All the heroes.
All the heroes, like Vinnie Moore.
Yeah. It's all those guys.
Those guys from the late, help me. I don't want to...
George Lynch?
George Lynch, for sure. George Lynch. I think I played kind of with the open hand because of George Lynch.
What about Marty? Marty Friedman.
Marty Friedman as well, with his Dragon Kiss album.
Or Yngwie as well.
Yngwie, of course, Yngwie, and of course Van Halen, and then the other guys with bigger bands, but like Brian May, some other guys, of course. But and the blues Steve Ray Vaughan a bit, but not as much as those guys, you know, with a Whammy Bar and Ibanez, and then the jazz guys. George Benson, and then the fusion. Because of then it's like I want to know more.
Holdsworth, I suppose you were saying.
Holdsworth,
Jeff Beck.
Jeff Beck,
maybe.
Yes, a lot of Jeff Beck. Yes, Blow by Blow and those albums. Those fusion albums, his fusionish.
Yeah.
What else? Scott Henderson. Then I was Gambale.
Yeah.
I was more into those fusion guys. Then I started getting into jazz. Then I was like, oh no, maybe this is too much. Robin Ford. I think Robin Ford was the blues guy that
your solo stuff, you can see that more in your solo stuff, I think, than any of the ANGRA kind of thing.
Yeah, you can see like a major, because metal, it doesn't need to be, but it has to be minor, because it has to have this
little bit of tension.
Because if it's major, that's
it's
Van
too
Halen.
happy.
No, that's Van Halen.
Right.
You know, so if you play all major. It has to be minor, you know, sad and depressing. You know? It has to be more like a Chopin, right? Than a major kind of thing, you know. So I do have on my solo albums major songs in major keys, you know, like whatever, like. Things like that, because I like that too. You know. And then it doesn't fit in Megadeth for sure. Megadeth is minor, which is the Phrygian.
Right.
So if you have like shades of minor, you have the minor, which is the Aeolian, and you have like a happier minor, the Dorian,
and even less happy.
Is less happy, the Phrygian, which is the. That's sound
classic. That's classic kind of Megadeth, right? Kind of opening riffs, isn't it?
Right, and then all the thrash metal has to have an EF.
Let's talk about that. I mean, it's taken us. I don't know it's fine. We've got all the time in the world, but it's like the Megadeth gig is crazy, right? It's not. There aren't many bands in the world that you know will sell out stadiums even now, you know, like Megadeth will, and with a back catalogue and as influential as they have been. There aren't many characters like Dave Mustaine in the industry.
Oh yeah.
Where does that, you know, it's like, is it a phone call? Is there a chance encounter? I mean, how does that work?
It was a phone call. Yeah, it was a phone call, and it was a phone call. I was coming from a clinic tour in Europe, Ibanez clinic tour. I was kind of sick, and then Dave called me, and then I was coughing. It's like, okay, you'll call me later. We're good. Like, and then I called him like in 2 days, and then he said, "Come to Nashville." So I was in LA, and Dave lives in Nashville. So I went to Nashville. So during those 2-3 days before the trip, I kind of filmed 4 songs. And then actually those videos I posted on my channel. So I kind of learned fast 4 songs, and then I went there to talk to him. So we spent a full day talking about things, not about music like you said. Probably not. He doesn't like this kind of. If I start saying those things, like yeah, so then I came back home, and I had a good feeling that, you know.
I was going to say, what's the, you know, you're obviously you've going from ANGRA and your own stuff, where it's maybe not of the scale at Megadeth, but it's your project, you know. There's a sense of ownership there.
Yeah.
And then the minute you're going into Megadeth, you're just like, right, you're stepping into a whole other person's kind of life, basically.
And you're part of a bigger structure.
Were there any reservations about sort of going, you know, am I going to lose my own identity here, or was it just like, oh my God, this is the big, you know, this is the biggest gig I'm ever going to have. Boom, I have to do this.
No, of course you think about those things, like how can I be myself there? You know, how I can bring the Kiko part in this Megadeth 2015, and then we did 2 albums. And slowly I tried to understand how to put my own voice into a band with such a great legacy. You know, I think that's the challenging part. I mean, in the end of the day, you know, and being you, and also being, because even if you're from a band that you started, you have a bunch of guys, right? Like 4 or 5 guys, and you have to share this. It's not you're not a dictator in a band, you know. So if you have a band, so I had the experience of being in a band for 20 years, and understanding all those the difficulties of relationship with other musicians, and then I think gave me a lot of strength and knowledge how to navigate in the Megadeth world, right? So yeah, so that's the. But I do think about okay, I need to be myself in this place here. Yeah. And I did a solo album, open source, in 2020, and then it's like full me, you know. It has like some major, as I said, some major chords, some stuff that doesn't happen in Megadeth, you know, which is fine, because a band is a concept. It's more than the song. It's a full concept. So if you start doing things that are not part of the concept, it's not the band anymore. But as an artist, you can do that.
That would be the worst selling Megadeth album of all time if the next album came out with all major songs.
They tried. They tried.
Did they?
Yeah, and then it's easy to see that. Like I think it's like Risk. I think some albums that was not the ones that the fans like the most. They have major songs.
One of the guys I've known for a long time in Andertons looked after Angus and Malcolm Young. He was their kind of like their guy when they were in London. And he said the number of years that AC/DC would waste going, we can't just do the same album again. We have to write different songs. So they'd spend like 3 years writing different songs to eventually just go, I don't like any of these. And then in 6 weeks they'd just write an album of the same. And it'd be like, that's all the fans want. Another massive multi-platinum album. Exactly. It's like, why, if it's not broke, why fix it?
Imagine AC/DC like just playing like some minor.
Yeah, exactly. Just be.
Yeah, because there's a concept, there's an expectation in the whole thing, and then the image, the logo, the whole thing. You know, I think an artist can experiment more.
Yeah,
you know, that's why you see the jazz guys a lot. You know, I don't know, just got Kiko Loureiro. You know, it's like can be a quartet, can be a solo, can be electric, can be acoustic, can playing. You know, Pat Metheny is a great example, navigating different styles of music and always being him, or George Benson, pop, jazz. You know.
What was the, I think you touched a little bit of this in the Rick Beato video that you did, but when you join a band like Megadeth that has some iconic guitar parts in it, you know, and I know you said in that interview that you're not really a big fan of learning every solo note for note and kind of playing it back.
I'd love to be. I'd love to. I just don't have the patience.
What's the reaction then? Is it well received when it's like the Kiko version of the solo in this song, or can you hear the fans going, "Oh, he didn't play it like Marty played it"? You know, it's just or does it whatever?
No, I asked the guys around. I asked them, the band, and even from Stanley, the front of house. He's a Megadeth fan. He knows a lot, and every night he's there doing the front of house. So I was like, is it going too far? Right. Because Stanley is a great guy because he plays the solos. Right. He knows how to play the Megadeth solos, which is amazing, right? He's amazing. So our front of house, he knows how to play. If something happens, he can just go on stage and play the song. So I can ask him like, hey, is it too off? He said, no, it's fine because the solo's still there. So yeah, but I mean, when I mention about note per note, it's like really being like the fast runs, being note per note. I have my way of doing fast runs. Yeah. And I think if it's a fast run, it's a fast run.
Yeah.
I mean, if
no one's got time to work out whether it was the
because
same one.
if it's a chromatic fast run, you play a chromatic fast run. If it's a pentatonic fast run, you play a pentatonic fast run, into kind of following the same pattern. Yeah. If a scale fast run, or if the like harmonic minor fast run, then if it's like a string skipping fast run, and then you use the same elements. Yeah. It doesn't need to be exactly the same notes, because then I'm trying to be somebody else. And I'm not able to do that, and I don't want to be.
No, don't want to. Yeah. We bought a classical guitar in there because there was I'd heard one of the ANGRA songs opens with this fabulous piece of sort of Spanish style playing, and I asked you if it was you. In fairness, I think you said, I'm not sure if it was, it might have been me or it might have been the other.
Yeah.
But then you talked about one of the opportunities that you had where Dave Mustaine had said to you, give me like let's put some Kiko vibe on this song. And that was how you chose to do it. So, I mean, maybe you can talk us through that.
Yeah. It was like, no, he came to me, I was like, my first days there, Kiko, can I write an eruption? Just, I want to highlight you on the album, so you could write Eruption, something like Eruption. It's like, something like Eruption, that's like the most iconic guitar track ever, you know. And then I didn't want to say no, because, you know, it's like, all right, okay. It's like, and then I was thinking, what? But the thing is, knowing Dave better now, and then anytime you talk to an artist, I mean, they have a vision, but they express in a certain way. You have to understand what they want to say. It's not exactly Eruption. He wanted to say some guitar stuff that highlights me, and then has my personality, and then can be flashy enough to, you know, for the guitar players also to enjoy, something like that. So like what? And then I was thinking, okay, what is that? You know. And then I was playing. Let's see if I will be able to play, because, you know, sometimes it's so I was playing some just this pattern here. Then I thought it was pretty Megadeth, like the vibe,
it's got that minor,
There's a minor disrupting the fifth.
See, burning.
And then again to the other side, again. And then I end in the worst one, the major seventh, in a minor chord. Not the worst one, the most beautiful one, I would say. We should have tuning. Tuning is not tuning. A classical guitar is always a thing. Huh? So this, I was thinking, this is very Brazilian, like a very Villa Lobos. Villa Lobos has the classical, is a great, like the biggest name composer in Brazil, right? So he had a lot of classical guitar pieces, and that's very Villa Lobos. And also kind of in a way like Randy Rhoads kind of thing, because I'm a big fan of Randy Rhoads. We forgot to mention Randy Rhoads.
Yes, we did. And there'll be a ton of guitar players we forgot.
Which is like a very Leo Brouwer, you know. It's like this chord here, you know, it's a beautiful... And then it's very Megadeth. So you just get those chords, and
Megadeth
then you play
unplugged.
And exactly,
I mean, before you put that down as well, because I love the sort of the completeness of the circle here, because it's like, you know, here's the boy that's grown up in Brazil, surrounded by traditional, you know, guitar players playing in little cafes on their classical guitars, and then their sort of, you know, bossa nova bands, and then the guys, you know, and then he's in Megadeth, and then he's kind of taken an influence from that beginning back. But again,
but ANGRA stuff had things like very pop, or, you know. So ANGRA, you have stuff like that. My solo stuff, acoustic stuff like that. The Brazilian stuff, the Brazilian things is more like, okay, let's say
that's what I wanted to hear.
You want to hear this, right?
That's it. Just pour me a pina colada and get my son. I'm just going to a happy place here. And now you're that guy in the cafe that you didn't want to be, the musician that you never wanted to be.
But I mean, because like, I was learning like, let's say like Scorpions, right? And then when I was like 15, and then you went to the to the whatever TV or bar or something. I mean, 15, I was not going to bars. But anyway, but then there was this guy there playing this. It's like, oh, this is harder than the Guitar Heroes.
Chords, yeah.
Than the guitar, like my Guitar Heroes, but I'm not able to play this. So I was interested to learn those chords as well, you know, and to understand that. And also was a way to please my parents, you know. It's like, we're paying for the guitar lessons, so like play something. Can you play some music?
At your dad's birthday, at least you can play sort of one of his favorite old tunes. Yeah.
Exactly. Because there's that, you know, like, or they're financing your you know, like you get your first guitar, you're paying the lessons, and then it's like you're playing this horrible music, like this noise is coming from the room. Can you play something nice? You know?
I can imagine. I mean, I'm guessing maybe your parents are a similar age to my parents, but yeah, I don't think, definitely my mum would not like Megadeth.
Yeah, you see? But she might like some...
She'd love that. She'd love that. She might like Megadeth. I'll ask her next time I see her. I'll see if next time you're touring, maybe I'll bring her to Hellfest or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I kind of feel like I want to delve into some gear. Okay. I feel like it was a good story. We we're sort of up to date now with where we're in life, Megadeth, and
sure.
You know, and people will probably be, you know, I imagine most people watching this will be super familiar with the kind of the Megadeth stuff that you're doing. But I want to do two things. So one is I want to talk about what your gear is now, like how it's evolved to. And then, in something we've never done on Andertons, but I've always wanted to do it with special guests I have.
Of course, it has to be with me.
Yeah,
right?
You told me about like your first ever setup. And we were laughing about in Brazil how hard it is to buy gear, or was it at that time to buy gear, and how expensive it was to import it in. And so we've kind of got roughly your first
something
ever setup.
Similar, yeah, okay, yeah.
And I kind of want to see, like, you know, if Dave Mustaine had phoned you when you were 16 or something like that, and that's, you know, how close are we?
Yeah.
But let's talk. So you have your own. We might as well start. You've had your own Ibanez signature guitar for 20 years or something.
No.
Or 10 years.
9 years.
9 years.
2013, 14.
So who was that? Because I was looking at that, and it's kind of got like the slightly longer horns than a regular.
This is a special guitar actually. So that's the one you find. That's a premium, right?
Yeah.
So the Kiko 100. So we have the Kiko 200, would be the Japanese, like based on the art. That's kind of based on the S shape, but it's like a thicker body. It's more like a super strat, right? D-Mars with pickups. It's not super metal, but it works great for Megadeth and works great for all the stuff that I want to play, because I wanted to find a guitar that I could play my solo stuff, and I could play Megadeth as well, you know?
Yeah. So
the pickups are perfect for that. So that's the Kiko 100. So this is the Kiko 200. That's a newer. It has the winged neck.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's the Kiko 200, and so this is based on the RG, and there you have this one, and they're releasing the SP3. Was like a entry level as well in January.
So this is, I'm just noticing, so you've got the slightly bigger horns. It doesn't look, you're saying the horns are like an RG, are they, rather than an S-type?
RGA, right, because it has the...
Right, with the arch top, yeah. I noticed as well, you scallop the top frets. Not many people do that.
I think I got that from Steve Vai. I think I saw him doing that, and then I started asking to do that, you know.
Is that, because again, if you've not watched the Rick Beato video that Kiko did, again, you talk as Rick is able to do, you know, at much more of a technical level with you like that. And in that video, you talk about how light your touch is as a player, and that some of your practice routines, you're not even fretting the notes, you're just basically touching the string in the right place. That's, again, something Pete and I talk about all the time, because my whole playing, I don't even know how I could unlearn it now, but I'm the opposite. You know, I'm pressing, hard and fretting hard, almost to the point where sometimes I have to be careful with intonation.
I do play like hard. So I do play hard, but now there's no tension. I tried.
No, that's fluid.
Right, so here about the scallop,
Yeah.
I think it helps for. It's more for the bands.
Right.
Not that great for slides. Sometimes it's hard. I might something like this just it might happen, but it's fine. To get the right.
Are you taking? Are you having to take several guitars with you for a Megadeth show in different tunings, or are you typically
No, the
everything
tuning
just
is always the
D
same.
standard, or D
I
standard, is it?
use like 4 guitars. So I'm
they all-
throughout the
all-
show like 4 different guitars. So I might have this one. I might have this one. I have a red one. Yeah, like 4 different ones. So every 3-4 songs we just change just for check tuning.
Just tuning, yeah.
For the
yeah.
tuning, just to be safe, because just hitting hard all the time. And yeah, so I might take like 6 or 7 guitars. So like maybe 5 for the gig, 1 for backstage. So don't use the one from the jam room backstage.
Yeah.
And then I have a hotel guitar with
And
me.
are they all your signature guitars, or do you have a variety of guitars?
That's mainly my signature guitars. Yeah. I was trying the Q, Ibanez Q.
Yes, yeah.
For the hotel guitar?
The headless one, you mean?
Yeah. For the hotel.
Yeah.
Because it's just smaller and lighter. But it was kind of weird for me.
I always find with headless, out the corner of my eye, I can't get
missing.
the reference point. Like where I don't know where my left hand is, because like there's nothing there. So
yeah, for me, I think it was more like the shape. So
Yeah.
it feels different.
there's some amazing guitar players though, playing headless
No,
guitar.
and the
now.
Q guitar is a great guitar. It's a great guitar as well. It's just a matter, it's just because I'm used to
Yeah.
this kind of body shape, and I need to have like a heavier.
Yeah, it's like it's like a Stratty kind of, what's that, probably 8-9 pounds, something like that,
Maybe,
isn't it? But
maybe, yeah.
I love the wangy necks though. That there's always it's not quite as smooth as maple, but it's got that kind of speed
it
of
feels
just,
good. Yeah, it feels good. It looks good.
So I'm kind of interested again. I know for many years, you're a big Marshall fan, and when we were getting the gear together for your masterclass later, I was like, right, we'll get Kiko guitar with Marshall stack, away we go. And then you said, actually, do you have a Quad Cortex? So when did you make that move from an amp with lots of pedals to just using a single digital device?
I was always a guy with 2 pedals.
Right.
Like one amp, super overdrive, then the tube screamer. Yeah. And I used to have at some point like the super overdrive distortion, like a kind of a orange one.
DS1.
And then the delay.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right.
And maybe Morley.
That you
Wow.
know what? That's all those guitar heroes that you talked about from late '80s. That tube screamer, delay pedal, valve amp.
Exactly.
Go.
Yeah. So I was always okay. I have to sound good on this, and also because back in the days, and also Guitar Clinics or like, the conditions for touring and stuff like that. You don't want to be like having a massive amount of pedals, because that might be a problem during the concert,
Yeah.
So 2 pedals, a delay, and a booster somehow. While at some point I was using the flanger, depending during my 20 years playing with ANGRA, but basically that was my pedal board. And then I the Quad Cortex, Neuro disappeared there in Helsinki, Finland.
Oh, of course.
So I know the guys.
Yes.
And then like a few years ago, I went there, and then I did a blind test.
Right.
They're like developing the plugins.
Yeah.
Before the Quad Quad Cortex, and then I was always like a believer. This is like nothing's gonna substitute this kind of things. And then they're like, okay, try this, and then can you feel the difference? I was trying to pretend that I could feel the difference, but I couldn't. And then it's like, okay, there's something here, you know. And then a few years later, I know Doug from all those years, and then tried the plugin, amazing, like so easy to, we're recording stuff at home, creating, so easy to, and sounds great, sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And then when the Quad Cortex came, I was one of the first to try out, and I took to the tour. Mm-hmm. Probably I was the first guy using on a bigger
tour,
on a big tour, because not because I was the first one, because we were one of the first bands touring.
Right,
after COVID. So I took the Quad Cortex with my tech, Keaton Rich. So set up the kind of the same patches that we used to have. Mm-hmm. We have rhythm with harder noise gate, rhythm with chorus, depending on the song. We have lead with no delays, lead with long delays, 2-3 different kind of cleans, right? Mm-hmm. So those are from the previous tour. So we brought that concept to the Quad Cortex because everything's programmed.
Yeah.
So I don't have the Quad Cortex there on stage.
Yeah.
So then we did some rehearsals to see if the Quad Cortex would obey the commands, right? Everything would work fine, because it's hard in a bigger tour, in a bigger situation, to add a new gear that you're not sure that's gonna work. Yeah. It has to work every concert, no matter what. Mm-hmm. Open air, small, big, whatever. If you need to load in fast, sometimes you don't sound check. So it has to be a gear that, like 100%.
Do you miss that? Who was the last band? I went to see Aerosmith, maybe 2017, 2018. I can't remember that. And Joe Perry just had this huge backline. He had all his old favorite Marshalls. I think it was probably all Marshalls, but he must have had like 6 amps and all the different 4x12s and all that kind of stuff. And to a certain extent, that's a sort of a dying breed now, because unless you're as big as Aerosmith, most guitar players, I think, are under pressure now to say, could you just bring one of these, please? And
we do have how many? We have like those cabinets.
You have like 100 of them, don't you?
Like 100, yeah. I do use 4.
I think real cabs.
They are,
because I remember
because we need that sound as well. So the way we set up is like, we have the stereo output going to the front of house and then the cabinets as well.
Right.
So we do have the normal,
but that's just for you, is it? Or are you miking up the cabs?
We don't mic the cabs.
Right.
That is not necessary.
The cabs is just for your on stage.
Yeah, just for the feeling. Yeah, for that feeling.
Because I wasn't sure with I remember with maybe I shouldn't say this. I don't know. I don't think I'm giving away any huge trade secrets here. But I remember hearing that the Iron Maiden, when you see the 100 cabs on the sort of the back of an Iron Maiden set, they're all like, it's all a fake, it's like wallpaper, they're all, the cabs are like 3 inches deep, and it's just there for show. And I wasn't sure in Megadeth whether it was the same thing or whether you are actually
No, we have some, well, of course you don't need like 20 cabinets, it's not necessary. We do have the spare ones, so we're not using, but they're real. And we do have some empty ones, like the ones on the top, because we have like 4 columns of 4.
That's amazing.
24 cabinets.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So you don't need 24 cabinets. That's stupid. But mainly because you're using in-ears, and you do have the side fills. You cannot project a massive sound.
So you've got in-ears and side fills, and then your 4x12s behind you.
It's a mix of old school and modern.
What are you using to actually power the cabs? Are you because today what we've set up here is, we've got the Quad Cortex going straight into the desk, but we've also got it running into the effects return of this. So would you typically be using valve amps to run like this, or would you just have little?
We're just trying to Seymour Duncan.
The power stage things.
Yeah.
A lot of artists using those, aren't they, with Quad Cortex?
Yeah, because it's not what the front of house. You don't hear that.
Yeah.
It's only
just
for
what you hear.
the feeling of the sound coming from behind, like the old good times.
I think give us then your best Megadeth iconic, riff, and then we'll see how close we can get to your best Megadeth iconic riff.
Most iconic from the new album. Let me see. All right, yeah.
Right, ready? You got all that?
Okay, so all right, so we're
this is live, no practice.
No practice.
We don't know where we're going with this.
So,
hang on,
yeah.
let's put it in the input
So
here.
just to explain.
You tell people about your first ever rig while I'm wiring this
up. Your viewers. My first guitar.
Yes.
I mean, was not a phone, but yeah. Black SG, just like
Tony Iommi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
was that because you wanted to be Tony Iommi, or was that just all you could kind of get?
I think I never had like, I want to be this guy. I never had this. I was like, I liked all the guitar players. I'm a fan of all the guitar players. And then I had, from the same company, Giannini, like I don't remember the name of the amp. It was like a copy of the Cube, like a 50-watt Cube from
like
Roland.
a Roland Cube type thing.
Yeah, like I was square, little box, like super heavy.
Little like 50-watt thing. Did you say?
Yeah. Only clean.
Solid state.
Solid state, of course. Yeah. Oh, come on.
So and then you said it was orange, right? Not orange brand, but orange covered.
No, it was black, but it was just like the
orange cube.
The orange cube, like.
I see. So we've got a little 35-watt orange crush here, solid state, on its clean channel. But the magic ingredient, right? The one bit of branded gear you actually had.
So, my cousin.
Tell us how you got it.
No, my cousin came from Florida.
Right.
And then he brought that pedal for me.
Smuggling. So
Smuggling.
we've seen all the movies about all the drug smuggling from South America. There was a whole other industry of Boss pedal smuggling, equally dangerous, not quite as lucrative.
Yeah, that's for sure. But the pedals and smuggling pedals and pickups.
Wow.
Because you would have like the Giannini guitars, then you would buy put a D-Mark.
So you were some sort of pedal mule, basically. Think of all the terrible ways that you could smuggle pedals and pickups into the country. So these are straight out the box. So we now need to see how Megadeth can we go here.
So yeah.
More gain?
Well, I don't remember how.
All the gain?
Probably. I think I'm not able to play anymore like this. Imagine, so when I was like 15, 16, I was practicing only with this.
Yeah.
Right?
See, I think this will be inspiring because I think you're basically going to be just as good with all the cheap gear as you are with the expensive gear. I think you are.
And then when I was 17, I kind of was saving some money. I was giving already some guitar lessons when I was 16. Then I bought my RG 550.
Cool.
Some extra money from Christmas or birthday or something. Okay, let's see.
Let's do this.
So hard to play, man. Is it too loud? Is it too loud? I have to play the same riff?
I think.
What a situation.
man, you have just inspired the next generation of
I need
youngsters.
to play for a few minutes and then I can start getting it. But
man,
yeah, it's hard to play, huh?
Is it? I mean, you need more gain. I'm going to give you more gain.
Yeah, but that is easy.
This will 100% stay now as a permanent feature in all Andertons videos. I think it's like, that's brilliant, man.
That's hard to play.
You've been a great sport as well. Not everybody would do that. We threw that on you. I appreciate that. Well, look,
thank you so much, man.
Basically the end of our interview. I have loved doing this.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
My pleasure.
I can't wait. We've got a masterclass with you tonight. Obviously, it's pointless us trying to plug tickets for it now. A, because it's sold out, and B, because this video won't go out until after the event's happened. But if you get a chance to see Kiko, doing a clinic somewhere or playing a show.
Visit my channel. I have a YouTube channel. Share some stuff there.
And the tuition thing you talked about earlier on.
Kiko Loureiro Guitar Academy. I think we just...
We'll put links below because that's got to be worth checking out. But honestly, man, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I've so enjoyed doing this. And thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.